right. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. My name is Sam McCarthy. I'm a registered dietitian with Cedardale Health and Fitness. And this afternoon, we're going to talk a little bit about some healthier holiday recipes. So we'll get started in just a few minutes here. Say hello in the comments as you join in. I'd love to see you guys and say hi. And let's see, we'll get Amelia. She's right here, of course, as she always is while I'm cooking. Wave, hi. Can you wave? No? All right, so we're going to be doing 3 different recipes today for some holiday recipes. Now, these recipes could be a number of different things. You could use them for gifts. That's what my plan is for a lot of these things. They could be snacks for yourself. And they can also be for any small social gatherings that you may have this year to bring as either appetizers or maybe desserts or whatever works best for what kind of event you're having. But for me, I plan to use these for some gifts, for some friends, some healthier gifts that are a little bit better than cookies if you want to lighten things up a little bit. Not that you have to cut out the cookies, but we could provide some stuff that's a little bit more nutritious. So let's see. So the 3 recipes that we're going to be making today are a popcorn recipe. So we'll be doing a little flavored popcorn. We're also going to do a homemade granola. And then we're going to do some spicy and sweet nuts that we'll be using. So follow along and I'll be sharing all these recipes once we get going. Hi guys coming on. Say hello in the comments. I hope you guys are all doing well. At this point right now when we're filming, it is nice and snowy where I live. So I hope you're hunkering down and staying nice and warm and safe. All right, let's go ahead and get going with our first recipe. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do some homemade granola. Okay, now granola is a great option. You can use granola for so many different things, whether it's for yogurt, whether it's for cereal, whether it's for a snack, or maybe something for a dessert. Okay. So here's what we're going to do with the granola. I've already portioned out a bunch of different things. Now, this is a little bit heartier than your traditional granola that you're going to find at the store because it is the holiday season, of course, right? So we have stuff that's a little bit heartier to celebrate. So this is a great granola recipe. It has a lot of different things in it other than just oats. It does have a lot of nuts. We're going to add some craisins to it, and we're also going to add some other spices. So it has that nice holiday feel to it, nice and spicy. So a few things that we're going to have. So I've portioned out a bunch of things that are in this bowl. So in this bowl is the basics or the base of the granola. We've got oats in here, we've got pistachios, we've got almonds. We also will eventually add some craisins, but not to the base. We've got pumpkin seeds in here, and then the small little things that you see here are what's called hemp seeds. If you've never used them before, they're really great. Like many other nuts and seeds, they provide a lot of great healthy fats, so a lot of your unsaturated fats. They're also a great source of fiber too. So that's what makes the hemp hearts so nice. So they just give a nice little punch to the granola. And then in here are spices. We have some, let's see, cinnamon. We also have ground cloves and a little bit of ginger. And then in this bowl, our more wet ingredients, we have some maple syrup and some coconut oil. So what we're going to do first is we're going to melt this together. So we're going to melt the coconut oil so we can get it to mix, okay? So let's go ahead and put it in the microwave. It doesn't need to be heated up for too long, just long enough to melt the coconut oil, which is usually only, a few seconds or so. I put it in right now for 30 seconds. So we'll see if it's melted at that point. But that's really all it should be. You don't have to put it in for a minute or 2. Hi guys, hi Sue. All right, so looks like it's probably gonna need a few more seconds. So while that's heating up, I have our nuts in the oven, so just toasting our nuts a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and get that going. Okay, so once we finish our granola, we will get to the nuts. So you can see I have a bunch of mixed nuts here. So this is actually 6 cups of mixed nuts that we'll be mixing with some lovely spices after this. All right, so let's take a look at our dish here. Looks like a little bit longer and it should be nicely melted. So it looks like coconut oil needs just a little bit longer. So I'll put it in a few more seconds. Okay, so what we're gonna do once that is all set is we're just gonna mix everything together. That's how simple it is. So we'll mix it all together, and then we'll get that maple syrup. We've got the coconut oil, and then we're gonna go ahead and put that on our pan to cook so it's nice and toasted, depending on how long you like it cooked for. All right, perfect. Okay, so it looks like we're nice and melted now. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and dump this in with the rest of the ingredients, and then we're gonna mix it all together. So while I do that, tell me what some of your favorite holiday treats are, guys. So what do you like to make during the holidays, or maybe family members like to make during the holidays? Go ahead and put it in the comments. And feel free to ask any questions that you have. Yes, Lori, Amelia loves my popcorn. She is eating it. She ate probably a full meal while I was prepping everything before this. All right, so this looks like it is nicely mixed now. Very good. Okay, so once you have all the ingredients mixed, the spices and the wet ingredients, we're going to go ahead and pour it on the pan. So just bring this up here. All right, so you can see that lovely granola. It smells delicious. It really does smell like the holidays in here. So it's really nice. Anybody make homemade granola on their own at home? What kind of ingredients do you usually put in your homemade granola? So I'm putting it in the pan. Now the pan that I have here is lined with parchment paper. Okay, so to protect your pan, a little easier on the cleanup. Okay, and it helps, I find that the parchment paper helps make it a little bit crispier than if it was just on the pan. So let's see here, just gonna spread it out so it all has a little bit of space to toast up once it goes in the oven. Now I have the oven set at 350 degrees, and we're gonna toast it for about 20 minutes or so. You wanna check it, you know, around 15-20 minutes, see how it's going. If you like it a little bit crunchier, hi Amelia. If you want it a little bit crunchier, then just toast it a little bit longer. Just keep a close eye on it as you get closer to the 20-minute mark so that it doesn't burn. Every oven will cook a little bit differently. And about halfway through, you want to toss the granola as well, so you can mix it up a little bit and get the other side nice and toasted. All right, so here we go. So that's it. The granola's done. We're just going to let it cook. It's pretty easy. Just mix all the ingredients together, and that's it. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the nuts next. So this is a lovely mixed nuts mix. It's a little bit of sweet and savory. So if you like a little bit of spice with your nuts, this is a great recipe. It calls for quite a bit of cayenne pepper. Yeah, it calls for quite a bit of cayenne pepper. I cut that in half just mostly because of her. She doesn't like spicy, so she can enjoy some mixed nuts as well. And of course, mixed nuts, as many of you guys know, nuts are a great source of healthy fats. They're great protein, so you don't feel as guilty eating this, even though there is a little bit of sugar, a little bit of maple syrup, a little bit of salt, so it's not perfect, but it's also a holiday recipe, so nothing has to be perfect, right? All right, so let's go ahead and we're gonna throw, all right, Amelia, hold on one second, okay? Let's see. So we're going to throw the nuts. Now, what I did with the nuts prior to starting is I just toasted them a little bit in the oven for a few seconds, or sorry, a few minutes. So I did about 10 minutes or so, tossing it about halfway through. Now this is about 6 cups of nuts. You can choose whatever type of nuts that you like. You want to do raw nuts. Since you are toasting it and adding a lot of flavor, you don't want too much of the flavor of, you know, roasted or salted nuts, okay? So we're going to take all these nuts and we're just going to go ahead and pour them into this big bowl, and then we're going to add the spices to it, which I'll go over in just a moment. So the spices are at first glance interesting. You think, this sounds a little bit interesting for nuts. but it does taste really delicious. You like that savory flavor with a little bit of sweetness to it. Okay, I'm going to save the pan because we're going to put the nuts back into the pan and the parchment paper, so you don't want to toss it. Okay, so the nuts are in the bowl. So here in this little container, I've got a little bit of maple syrup and a little bit of olive oil in here. So we're going to throw this on the nuts. Okay, and just throw that there. And then the other portion here is some rosemary, some cayenne pepper, and a little bit of salt thrown in there. I cut back on the cayenne pepper, like I said before, also cut back on the salt too, so it's not as salty. And you can always add a little bit more to taste, however it sounds after, or however it tastes after you finish it. Okay, so we added that in. Okay, you can see what it looks like there. And just like we did with the granola, we are just gonna mix, mix, mix. Okay, so get all of the nuts nicely coated with the spices and the oil and the maple syrup. And then we're gonna throw it back into the oven to toast. So when you throw it back in the oven, again, 350 degrees, so the same temperature that we've got the granola at, we want to go for about 10 to 15 minutes on this. What you're looking for when you throw it into the oven is you want to make sure that they're pretty dry and there's not too much oil or liquid, so just enough to kind of start drying them out, but not burn them, of course. You want to mix the nuts, you know, every couple of minutes as they're in the oven so it doesn't burn on one side. Very good. Hey Jess, how are you? Hi Devin. Oh, it's Heather. Hi Heather. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining me. All right. So we've got our lovely mixed nuts here. I'm going to throw them back on that same pan that we had them on before. Less dishes, which is good. My husband will be happy about that because he does the dishes a lot. So I'm always cooking. All right, so there we go. So in these nuts, in the nut mix, I used pistachios. I have Brazil nuts. I have some walnuts in there. Let's see, almonds and cashews. And I think that's everything. So it's a few different types of nuts, but you can add whatever kind of nuts you like. And it is delicious. It smells really, really yummy. So these are great if there's no nut allergies in the family or with friends. These are great little gifts. You put them in little mason jars and doctor them up with some pretty holiday decorations. It looks really nice. Okay. Into the oven the nuts go. Okay, so again, another really quick, easy recipe to give to people in, you know, little containers, or even if you are going to a party and you're trying to be safe, you can put them into small little cups so people can grab little portions and go from there. No chocolate chips, Nancy, not in these. Maybe after. All right, the last recipe we're gonna make is a popcorn recipe. So it's a nice flavored popcorn. I still have some popcorn left, which is good, even though Amelia ate a bunch of it. So I just use regular Skinny Pop, the regular just kind of lightly salted popcorn. You don't want any kind of flavored or butter or microwave type popcorn. You want it to be very bland because we're going to add a bunch of different stuff to the popcorn, okay? So what are we adding to this popcorn to make it taste so yummy? Well, first thing, let's see, Sue, can you use honey? Yes, you can always use honey as a replacement for maple syrup in almost every single recipe. Slightly different taste, but still will work just fine. Okay, so in the food processor, you want to whip out your food processor for this one, so it makes it a little bit more complicated, but still very easy. So in the food processor, I have two things. I've got craisins in there, and I have some almond butter, and that's it. If you've got nut allergies in the household, you can use sunflower butter, and you can also omit the almond butter to be safer. And then in my little jar container here, I have a little bit of water, a little bit of oil, and a little bit of maple syrup again, or of course you can use honey. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and dump this into the food processor. You could use a small blender because there's not much in here. And then we are going to go ahead and just give it a little spin. Now, I'm not going to spin it until it's fully smooth. You want a little bit of chunks in there. It's still going to be some of the craisin chunks, and that's okay. All right? So we're going to go ahead and get that started. Okay, so just a few seconds for that. Yes, looks perfect. Okay, and then, like I said, very easy. We're going to take this popcorn, we're going to dump it into a nice big bowl. Okay, and we're going to add our little sauce to it. So, take this out, add the sauce, and then you're going to mix it together at the very end. And then again, we're going to put this into the oven for a quick little toast. This one is the shortest to cook, and again, with all of these, you want to keep an eye on them pretty closely so they're not burning. This one is really going to be only about 5 to 10 minutes, okay? 5 to 10 minutes in this one, and this one you do want to stir even more frequently than the other ones, our nuts and our granola, okay? Because the popcorn will burn pretty quickly, so I'd say 5 minutes. The recipe for this one calls for temperature of 325. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in with the rest of the stuff, which is at 350, and probably just cook it a little bit less. Again, keep a close eye on it. So this is going to have a nice sweeter flavor to it, but also a little bit of salty from the salt on the Skinny Pop popcorn that I used. So it's a nice sweet and savory treat, and it smells absolutely delicious as I'm mixing it here. Okay, so these are all great, healthy holiday treats, guys. Now remember, through the holiday seasons, it's not about being perfect, okay? That's not what we're looking to do. We're just looking to celebrate, especially this year, to celebrate, to have a good time, and to not put 20 pounds on, right? So sometimes these healthier treats can be nice instead of all of the sugars and the fats that can go into a lot of the other things like cookies and such. While these still do have sugar and fat in them, it's not as much as some of the other holiday treats. And you also have a lot more nutritional value with these recipes because we've got nuts going in, we've got good olive oil, we've got popcorn, of course, which has some great fiber to it. And then lots of fiber in the seeds and the nuts and the oatmeal that we used in the granola. So a little guilty with a lot of nutrition, right? That's what the holidays are all about. Okay, so you can see the popcorn right here. It's ready to go. It smells delicious. So you can still see some of the chunks of the craisins in there. And then we're just going to put it in the oven again for 5 to 10 minutes like everything else. And there we go. So everything is in the oven. I'll be pulling it out in a few minutes and mixing things. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. So just some tips to get through the holiday season is don't deprive yourself, okay? So make sure that you do let yourself have a little guiltiness, some treats, some sweets, whatever it is that you love for the holiday season. Let yourself have them, because if you say no to them, then you're going to end up binging on them eventually. Okay, it's like taking candy from a kid. And then what do they want after that? All they want is the candy, right? So do make sure that you allow yourself to have a little, but control the portion sizes and stay healthy the rest of the time, you know? So maybe on the holiday, the Christmas holiday, you have dessert. No big deal. It's dessert. It's one day. The rest of the days, just stay healthy and make sure you get your exercise in, okay? So let me know if you guys have any questions in the chat box. Happy to answer them, and I will also share the recipes on the post once I post this and I'm finished up, okay? And I think you guys have a lovely day, and happy holidays to everybody. Stay safe. Thank you. Thanks, Sandy. Thanks, Diane. You guys have a great day. Nice to see you, Emily. Thanks for joining. Have a good day, guys. Stay warm.